You just saw how to import data from a CSV file into a pandas object. However, to this moment, we've based our work on an important assumption. The assumption that the organization of our original data set was good enough, so pandas could turn it into a meaningful table just by using a default parser. This assumption also relates well to the trial and error process we've acquired, the one corresponding to the easier ask for forgiveness than permission motto. Can we always rely on such a good organization of the original data set, though? We can't, unless we've checked beforehand. More precisely, sometimes your dataset will be messier than you'd like it to be. Then, you may want to inspect it before importing it in your notebook document. In such situations, the practice is to open the original text file in a text editor like Sublime, Notepad++, or, in case the file is too big, Atom. Now, let's open the lending company CSV file in Sublime, a great text editor with increasing popularity. You can download it for personal use, but would have to use the paid version if you'd like to have it for commercial use. Employing Sublime at this stage is great for eyeballing our data. Starting from top to bottom, we can see that our first row contains the column names. This means that our original dataset has a header. The latter is already giving us a good indication of what the data in each column will be about. Then, very important, we can see what our separator is. Here we are having a comma, which is the default character when storing your data as a CSV file. Don't forget that sometimes you can have a semicolon, space, or another character. While still in Sublime, you should check a few more things about your dataset. First, you can easily scroll down to see what you can expect from your data as a whole. Does it contain a lot of numbers, or is it just text? In our case, we see we have data of both types. Is there any missing data? In this dataset, with only occasional exceptions, no, not really, which is great because this can always facilitate our analysis. Also, how big is our data? We see that we've got information on 1,044 rows, but don't forget that while observing your data in the editor, the header counts as a row too. So we actually have a header plus 1,043 rows of data. Nice! There's one additional peculiarity we do advise you to not overlook, because it may be critical sometimes. I am talking about the encoding used to read the information. Luckily, in this example, all we have is Latin letters, Arabic digits, and the comma symbol. However, in some situations, it might occur that you won't be reading well-known characters at all. This could happen when you've been given a text file written in a language that uses a different alphabet, for example, Japanese. Therefore, remember that you should be careful with the UTFs, the Unicode transformation format. In the English-speaking world, more often than not, you will read with UTF-8, which is the encoding that will turn your text into machine language. That is, into ones and zeros, which the computer can understand. Without digging into much detail, if you stumble upon a situation where you open a text file containing characters you're unable to understand, you can go to File, expand the Reopen with Encoding option, and select the type of the encoding you need. Selecting the correct encoding would sometimes make the difference between reading and not being able to read your data. Therefore, it is crucial in the process of data cleaning. Regardless of whether you're using Sublime or Notepad++ or any other software with analogous functionalities, you may need to look for that option at some point. Right! We just went through the fundamental characteristics you should look out for in a dataset within a text file. Of course, you can also find other inconsistencies or abnormal behavior while eyeballing your data in a text editor. In such situations, you can use some of the provided options from the main menu. It will help you to obtain the shape of your dataset that is good enough to be imported and worked on in Python. To conclude on this topic, remember that it is only a matter of practice to know what to look for in a raw dataset before sending it for further cleaning and pre-processing. So, the best moment to start gaining such experience is, as usual, now. Great! Having figured out that our initial text file contains well-organized data, let's reenact importing the lending company CSV file into Python. This time, we'll do this in a slightly different way, one that a professional programmer would normally opt for. In other words, we don't want to just display the dataset. We want to store it in a file object. To do that, we will write the name of the text file and its extension as a string. In our case, this will be lending-company.csv. Then, we will assign it to a variable we will call filename, written without spaces. Next, we'll use filename as a string argument of the readCSV method. The latter will return a pandas data frame object that we'll store in a variable called myCSVData. Importing the data in this way allows us to differentiate between the file, which is lending company CSV, and the file object, which we just called myCSVData. Therefore, as we execute this code cell, we can see our data displayed in a tabular form. Great! To make sure we are good to proceed, we can use the type function to confirm we are having a data frame. As a side note, remember that although it is possible to execute the print function in Python, you wouldn't normally print out the content of your file object if the latter contained data of a tabular form. The reason is that it doesn't look as good as if you just display the file object itself. Do you agree? Nice! Stay tuned for the next lesson, where we will show you how to apply the index call parameter of the readCSV method to better import your data in certain situations. See you there!